Yo, what's up Bears fans? I am back with another video. This time I got a heavily requested video. I have a complete 7-round mock draft for you guys, going pick by pick, round by round, telling you guys who I think the Chicago Bears are going to draft this year and why, and giving you guys a brief analysis of each prospect that we could be looking at. Now, this will be my first mock draft. I'll probably do a couple more after this. I'm doing all this before free agency actually starts, so a lot of these picks are probably going to be wrong because I don't even know what's going to happen in free agency. So don't hunt me down if this draft is completely wrong. And also it's worth noting that, the draft is really a crapshoot. So especially beyond the first 2 rounds, like the first 2 rounds you can actually kind of predict, but we don't even have a pick in the first 2 rounds. So it's going to be extremely hard to predict what's going to happen in round 3, 4, 5, and 7. So I mean, that's fine. This is just mainly for fun, just to get a feel of what prospects the Bears could be looking at. Also, if you're new to the channel, I know a lot of new people subscribed in the past 2 weeks, so welcome to all of you guys. You guys made the right decision. You're going to enjoy all these videos. I come out with Bears videos pretty much every single week, so welcome guys, and let's get right into this video. So before we actually begin with the picks, I want to give a quick needs assessment for the Chicago Bears, telling you guys which positions that we actually have a need at. And in doing that, guys, I realized that the Bears this year, we really don't have a need at any single position, besides kicker, obviously. We need a good kicker. We're not going to forget about that. But besides that, if we're able to retain this entire roster for next year, Amos, Callahan, and keep Jordan Howard, not trade him, then we're going to have a very good roster for next year that can probably win a Super Bowl. But obviously the NFL stands for not for long. So even though we had a good year last year, some players had a breakout year last year, a lot of that could change going into next year. That's just how the NFL works. So it's always important to be on top of things, always looking for new ways to improve. So I really hope that Ryan Pace does have another good draft. But he can pretty much just use the best player available approach because we don't have a very big need anywhere. So with that aside, also for the purposes of this mock draft, I'm going to assume in free agency that we actually keep Jordan Howard, we keep Callahan, but Adrian Amos moves on. So we're going to have a need at strong safety. Now let's get into the picks. With the 87th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Miles Sanders, running back out of Penn State University. Now guys, I know I said we would keep Jordan Howard for the purposes of this mock draft. That doesn't mean that we're not going to draft a running back. Guys, no matter what happens with Jordan Howard, I'm almost 100% sure that the Bears are still going to draft a running back and have either a 3-headed monster at running back or, replace Jordan Howard with him. Because the running game was not good enough last year. That's just a fact. If we had a good running game, our offense would have looked a lot better probably. But, if Matt Nagy can actually get a running back that fits his style, like Miles Sanders, and guys, if Miles Sanders is actually available with this pick, I'm kind of doubtful on that because he might go a little bit higher because of the amazing combine that he had. If he is available, there's no way Ryan Pace is not going to pick him up. Miles Sanders is one of the most electric players in this entire draft, and for him to be available here would be a miracle. Now, let's look at his stats in college. Miles Sanders from Penn State, he sat behind Saquon Barkley almost his entire career there. He was actually the #1 recruit coming out of high school for running backs, but he had the misfortune of sitting behind Saquon Barkley. Now, the 1 year that Saquon Barkley leaves and he actually gets a shot, he goes off for 1,274 rushing yards, an average of almost 6 yards per carry, 9 touchdowns. He didn't get featured that much in the receiving game, although he showed, a strong ability to catch the football. Penn State should have featured him more. He still had almost 150 yards receiving. So he is a running back that is a 3-down running back that can, laterally evade people at the second level. He is very shifty. He can catch the ball. He is fast, electric. He is all these things that Matt Nagy wants in his running back. So to add a running back like Miles Sanders would be an absolute dream. Just imagine that running game if we can get him. The Bears have actually already met with him at the combine, and they're actually very interested in adding him. So it would not be a great surprise at all if we pick Miles Sanders with this pick. With the 126th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Sheldrick Redwine, safety out of Miami. Guys, if we actually get Redwine, just imagine our safety duo. It would be called Redwine and Jackson. That sounds like an amazing combo right there. So, I mean, that's a pretty cool name, having Redwine in our secondary. But name aside, I mean, Sheldrick Redwine, he was part of one of the most fearsome defenses, pass defenses, in all of college football. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Miami had the #1 pass defense in the nation last year, and he was a big part of making that pass defense so successful. Now, again, if he's available here, he might go a little bit higher. I'm hoping he'll slide down to us in the 4th round. But, you know, the reason why he could slide a little bit is that his man coverage is not as good. His coverage skills overall, maybe they're a little bit raw right now, but as an athlete, as a tackler, he is absolutely incredible. You know, he had one of the best combines out of all the safeties. He ran a 4.44 second 40-yard dash, 39-inch leap in the vertical jump, 130 inches in the broad jump, ran a 4.14 20-yard shuttle. Just insane numbers. So he is an absolutely amazing athlete. He can tackle extremely well, which would be amazing if we lose Amos, because you know, Adrian Amos was one of our best tacklers in the secondary. If we take a look at some of his stats in college, his final 2 years as a starter in Miami, he finished with a combined 123 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, 5 interceptions, 8 passes defended, 3 fumble recoveries. So he was always all over the field. He always had, you know, a part in turning the ball over. I mean, you guys know about the turnover chain in Miami. So he brings that turnover mentality to this defense. I think that Chuck Pagano would love having a safety like him because he can blitz extremely well. As you know, also he's very physical, amazing tackler, like I said. So adding Sheldrick Redwine would be amazing for the secondary. With the 162nd pick of the 2019 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Malik Reed, outside linebacker from Nevada. Now, guys, you might say that we already have too many pass rushers, right? Like, we have a lot of good linebackers, a lot of people that can rush the passer. Why are we going to add some more? Well, in the NFL, you can never have too many pass rushers. There's no such thing as having too many great pass rushers. You saw how the Eagles won a Super Bowl. They won it by having a dominant group of pass rushers that they could, you know, file in and out every other play. So if we can add a dominant player like Malik Reed in the 5th round, I feel like that would be incredible, and Pace would not, you know, give up the opportunity. This draft is so deep at pass rushers that you can find great pass rushers in the 5th round even. Obviously, you got your Nick Bosa's, your Josh Allen's at the top, but you also have people like Malik Reed down here. Let's take a look at Malik Reed and what he did in college. Now, the reason why I feel like he's not being looked at that much is because he came from Nevada. I mean, his school in a conference that's not very, you know, very much looked at by NFL scouts as much as, you know, the SEC, the Big Ten. So in college, he really did dominate his entire career. He is one of the best pass rushers statistically in all of college football. Finished his career with 198 tackles, 38.5 of them for a loss, 22 sacks, an outstanding 11 forced fumbles. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. So over and over and over, he showed an ability to get the passer. I don't care that he played in a weaker conference. Yeah, that definitely has a role in everything, but Ryan Pace has found amazing gems that came from weak conferences everywhere in the draft. So I feel like Malik Reed could be one of those. And he would just fit into this defense extremely well because, I mean, he can turn the ball over. He can rush the passer very well. Imagine having this guy in the rotation next to Leonard Floyd, Khalil Mack. I mean, if this guy actually dominates like in the way that I think he can, our defense is going to be that much better next year. One thing that really stands about Reed is also his, you know, his motor and how driven he is every single play. I mean, he does not take a single play off. Almost every single play he's going full speed. And his speed, by the way, is ridiculously fast. He is one of the fastest linebackers in college football. So if we can get this guy at, in the 5th round, I feel like that would be amazing. With the 222nd pick of the 2019 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Cole Tracy, kicker out of LSU. Thank God if this happens, hopefully. Guys, Cole Tracy, if he's available in the 7th, I feel like he could be, because really you should not be taking kickers higher than the 6th round at the highest, because that's just, you're giving up so many players of good value in those rounds. So if he's available in the 7th, I think the Bears should take him, even if we are interested in signing a free agent. I mean, Cole Tracy he was one of the greatest kickers in college football history if you look at his stats. I made a whole video about him before, so check that out if you want more in-depth coverage on him. But he made a lot of clutch kicks last year, including going 5 for 5 to help the LSU Tigers pull off an upset against Georgia. Last year he was 29 out of 39 on all his field goals, and his long was 54 yards. He didn't miss a single extra point, and most of all, he didn't double doink any kicks. Thank God. So if we can get this guy in the 7th, and if he actually turns out to be a decent kicker, he could solve so many of the Bears' problems. This could potentially be the best pick of the draft if he actually turns out to be a good player. So I'm hoping he's going to be available here. I think he would be the best option at kicker if we cannot get, a decent free agent. So hopefully he's available here. And finally, with the 238th pick of the 2019 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Preston Williams, wide receiver out of Colorado State. Now, again, we have a lot of receiver depth, but this is just a case of, best player available, in my opinion. In the 7th round, you're not really going to find too many outstanding players, but I feel like Preston Williams, the reason why it's falling all the way down to the 7th round is because, first of all, he had some off the field issues in 2017, which reportedly harassed a woman. So that's really bad, but it seems like he cleaned up his act. And last year he had a very good year. He went, what was his stats? So he caught 96 passes for 1,345 yards and 14 touchdowns. So he had a pretty dominant year. He's really tall. He's 6'4". He's 210 pounds. Very nice frame. Long arms. So he's a very good possession receiver. He can run very good routes as well. So if we can get him in the 7th round, I feel like if the Bears are, if his off the field stuff is all cleared up, then the Bears could potentially go after another receiver in the 7th. So there you have it. That's my mock draft for the Bears this year. It's probably going to change based on what happens in free agency. Like if we actually keep Amos, then we're probably not going to select Redwine. So I'll be making another one, like I said earlier, probably after free agency actually ends, and maybe one more before the draft starts. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this draft. If you disagree with any picks, if you agree, who you would select instead. So that is all, and bear down.